Hi guys, in regards to this video that I'm creating today, this is when my students are solving their Khan Academy homework. Typically they don't like to write things down and they just like to kind of guess the answers, and they really don't do well when they're doing that. So one of the things that I'm requiring my students to do is show all of their work in their math notebook. What I'm going to do today is show you what exactly I require, or what I'm going to require for them to write in their math notebook. In this particular example that we're going to be doing is solving equations with variables on both sides. On page 28 of our math textbook, we saw 5 basic steps that are used to solve just about any equation. The first step was to use the distributive property. I'm kind of shorthand writing this on the right hand side just because I don't want to write the entire process. Step 2 was to combine like terms. Step 3 was to add so I can get the variables on one side of the equation. Step 4 was to add all of the numbers to get the numbers on the opposite side of the variables. And last but not least was to get all the variables to equal just numbers. And the way we did that was by the use of multiplication. One of the things that I've taught my students is that to solve equations, there's basically two things to remember. And I call these the secrets of algebra, and that's the number 0 and the number 1. And when we add these variables, we create 0 pairs, and when we multiply, we create 1s, and we multiply by 1, and it kind of simplifies things. So another thing to remember is, since I have the distributive property as my quote number 1 step, I have to remember that not all the steps are going to be used all the time. Here I don't have any parentheses, so I'm not going to use the distributive property. And I do notice that I have like terms, the 17 and the 2. I'm going to combine those, and that step is called combining like terms. I want my students to write this down in the following line, so that in that next line I have my work already shown. 17 plus 2 is 19, plus 4h is equal to 1 minus 5h. Step number 3 was to add so I can get all the variables on one side. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put all my variables on the left-hand side, just because I know that if I add, in order for me to remove the negative 5h, I have to add 5h, and if I were to add those 5h to the left-hand side, I would have positive h's. So what I'm going to do is add positive 5h on both sides. 19 plus 4h plus 5h, 4h plus 5h is 9h, is equal to 1 minus 5h plus 5h. Remember, negative 5h plus 5h is a 0 pair, and 0 plus 1 is 1. My next step is just as easy. Once again, I'm going to add just the numbers so I could have only numbers on one side and only variables on the other side. So the 19 has to be removed. The way I remove that 19 is by adding the opposite of that on both sides. In that case, the opposite of 19 is negative 19 on both sides. 19 plus negative 19 is 0. 0 plus 9h is 9h. 1 plus negative 19h is negative 18. Not 19h is just plus that negative 19. I misspoke on that one. But I have negative 18. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I now have my last step, which is to get the variable to be by itself and that to equal just a number. In this case, that 9 has to be removed from the h, and 9 times h, so that means that the way I'm going to remove it is by multiplying by the reciprocal of that 9. So I will be multiplying by the reciprocal of 9, which is 1/9, and I will be doing that on both sides. By doing so, I take 9 times 1/9, that's 9/9. 9/9 is 1. 1 times h is h. Secondly, I now have negative 18 times 1/9. That will be negative 18/9. And that, ladies and gentlemen, simplifies down to negative 2. One of the things that I would do in here is, once I show this work, I would type in my answer into Khan Academy, and it would say, yes, you got it right, or no, sorry, try again. Typically, I would say that's enough for the checking, but we could do our own checks by substituting. So I will be checking my work by substituting your solution into original equation. So the original equation was 17 plus 4h plus 2. That was equal to 1 minus 5h. Remember, my solution was negative 2. So I will substitute. Anywhere I see that h, I will put a negative 2. And then I bring the rest of the problem down. 17 plus 4 times negative 2 plus 2 is equal to 1 minus 5 times negative 2. Now I'm just going to share this with you guys. I typically like to simplify one side of that equation first and then on the other side second by using the order of operations. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 17 minus 8 plus 2. Now I'm going to add or subtract from left to right. 17 minus 8 is 9 plus 2. 9 plus 2 is 11. Don't forget your equal signs. Negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. 1 plus 10. I know some of you might ask yourselves, but isn't that minus, Mr. Barajas? Well, since I multiplied the negative 5 times the negative 2, that changed it into a plus 10. Then I have 11. 11 is equal to 11. Since both sides are balanced, the solution is true. And just to recap my steps, I'm going to go over this really quickly. I started off by just kind of having a basic idea of the steps that I'm going to use to solve these equations. Distributive property was not used. First, I used combining like terms when I combined the 17 and the 2. Then I added 5h to both sides. 4h plus 5h gave me 9h. Negative 5h plus 5h was 0, and 1 plus 0 was just the 1. Then I added negative 19 to both sides. 19 plus negative 19 is 0. 0 plus 9h is just 9h. 1 plus the negative 19 is negative 18. Final step was to multiply by the 1/9 on both sides. 9 times 1/9 is 1. 1 times h is h. Negative 18 times 1/9 is negative 18 ninths, which simplifies to negative 2. My solution worked, and now I could type it into my Khan Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want for every single problem that you guys do on Khan Academy. With that said, the checking of the solution, you guys can skip that because it will tell you right off the bat if you did it right or wrong on Khan Academy itself. And if you did it wrong, you have to go back and show your work again. I really need to make sure you guys focus on the steps. These steps that you see here are the most important part for me right now. Eventually, we are not going to write this, and we're going to move on to mixing it into our work and making it faster and easier. But if you do not understand your steps, you are going to have a very difficult time. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed. Give me likes if you want. Give me unlikes if you don't like. No comments because I have removed the comments.